Hey guys, this is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today, as crazy as it sounds, we're going to talk a little bit about the Wii U. Most specifically, I want to talk a little bit more about Wii U ports to the Nintendo Switch, which of course has been more common than maybe a lot of us anticipated going into the launch of the Nintendo Switch coming up on 3 years ago, if you can believe it. Early on, we of course knew that Mario Kart 8 was getting a port from the Wii U to the Switch in the form of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which launched in only the second month of the Switch's life. And at that time was very exciting. People were willing to accept it. It was a little bit strange, but it wasn't too crazy. I mean, heck, we saw something similar with The Last of Us going from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 in the first year of the PS4's life, so it wasn't the hugest deal, and a lot of us just felt that this was a great game that a lot of people didn't play because they chose not to purchase a Wii U, and will now get an opportunity to play it on the Nintendo Switch, have a true portable option for the game, all of the DLC wrapped up, an actual and complete battle mode, all of these great things, and everyone was just joyous over the whole Mario Kart 8 thing. Fast forward a couple of years, and it turns out that regular releases of ports from the Wii U over to the Switch have become really common. We've seen Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, we've seen Hyrule Warriors, there's Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, New Super Mario Bros., Tokyo Mirage Sessions, we're getting the Wonderful 101, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe of course. There's been so many games coming from the Wii U to the Switch, and it's also had a lot of supporters and a lot of detractors. It's created a big conversation and a big debate pretty much throughout the entirety of the Switch's life, and I've obviously touched on it here and there over the years, and I think several years ago I even made a video specifically on the topic, and I did want to talk about it a little bit more today, because I've started to kind of question whether or not the release of so many ports from Nintendo's last generation Wii U to their current generation Switch is potentially tarnishing the overall legacy of the Wii U console itself. Now, in answering that question, I do have to kind of separate my opinion on all of the releases of ports from the Wii U to the Switch because, you know, as I've said over the years, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I think it's totally fine and even good that ports are coming from the Wii U to the Switch in such a high number. And there's also some bad in the sense that maybe it's showing that Nintendo is less focused on making new, unique games for the Switch, and they're willing to pepper all of their kind of blank slots in their slates with just kind of ports from their last generation console that are minimal effort. They're games we've already played. I mean, even third-party games like Bayonetta 1 and 2, for example, coming over. There's been so many situations like that, and so it just kind of makes us question if Nintendo is taking some time off from their own game development to just bring over games from their last-gen console, and it's like, why not make new games? And so, anyway, there's reasons to like it and reasons to not, and if I separate myself from those opinions, I start to look at just the Wii U as a console as a whole, and what it means that so many of its best and exclusive games are kind of becoming no longer exclusive to the Wii U, and they're becoming part of this newer console, the Nintendo Switch. And now, full disclosure, I prefer the Switch to the Wii U overall, I think, just because it's newer and modern and does some cool things. But make no mistake, I think the Wii U is fantastic. You guys have heard me say that pretty much since I've been a channel. I started this channel when the Wii U itself was brand new, so I covered Nintendo and was dedicated to Nintendo as a company and the Wii U as a console throughout the entirety of that console's life, and all I ever did was talk positively about it. I, of course, acknowledge the faults in the console and the mistakes Nintendo made. I will never call it a perfect machine, but is it a machine that I love, that did more good than bad, and had an amazing library of mostly exclusive games? Absolutely. And I'm one of those few weirdos out there that loves the gamepad, and I still miss the gamepad. In fact, one of my other videos I have planned for the next couple of days or week is another video on the Wii U kind of discussing the gamepad and Nintendo's two-screen gameplay. So this is kind of part of a 1-2 punch of Wii U content that I'm making here in 2020, as stupid as that probably is. But when I look back on the Wii U now as a last-generation machine, I look at it very, very fondly. And obviously part of that is because I enjoy the unique gamepad experience that that console offered for the games that use the gamepad very well, but also the library. I mean, to the end of my days, I will stand up for the library of the Wii U, and I think it's one of the reasons that console in my opinion, became a missed opportunity for a lot of people who overlooked it, who thought it was just this dumb kind of Fisher-Price toy thing that wasn't as cool as the Nintendo Wii before it. Even though there's more things about the Wii U that I prefer to the Wii had the better library of good games compared to the Wii U, and also the Wii had some Metroid games and the Wii U didn't. But kind of as hardware, I sort of prefer the Wii U to the Wii, and I also prefer the gamepad to the Wii remote, which I know is going to be a hot take and people are going to disagree with. But again, that's a conversation for another video. The point is, I still think that the library of games on the Wii U is so very good. And if that's one of the things that someone like myself, and many other people who also agree with that statement, find to be one of the defining characteristics and qualities of the Wii U, what happens when all of those games that are unique to that console no longer have to be played on that console and can be played on another newer machine, or even a variety of new machines as the years go on and on from even today? Does that change the impact of the Wii U? And in a lot of ways, I have to say that, yeah, I kind of think it does. I think what we have to do is maybe think ahead 10 to 15 years and imagine today's current era, the 8th generation era, the era of the Switch and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and also to a degree the Wii U, because that was only replaced just a couple of years ago. They're kind of all part of the same 7 or 8 year generation, all 4 of these consoles. And in 10 to 15 years from now, this current era will kind of be the quote-unquote retro gaming scene of the, late 2000 teens, I guess the 20 teens, however we would call this decade here. And being of that era, the 2010s, the 20 teens, at some point it's going to be seen as old school gaming, and people will look back on the old school PlayStation 4 and the old school Switch and the old school Xbox One, and to a lesser degree the old school Wii U. And at some point, gaming on the Wii U will be looked at then as right now gaming on a Nintendo 64 or a PlayStation 2 or a Sega Dreamcast is today. And what's really neat about those consoles is, even though a lot of games from those eras are now available digitally, for the most part, if you want to really experience the PlayStation 1, the Nintendo 64, the Sega Dreamcast, you have to play on those consoles. You have to have one of those machines. You have to be holding one of the controllers for those machines in your hand, and you've got to be putting those games into your machines. Not the digital way that people are doing so much gaming now. You have to put your cartridges in, you have to put your CD-based games into those machines, boot those suckers up. There's no home screen menus, there's no Netflixes and YouTubes. You're just turning those consoles on and you're just playing your games. Again, with the controllers designed for those machines, and that's the most pure and real way to play those games. And that's retro gaming for us today, and it's part of what makes them great. When we want to experience a Dreamcast or a 64 or a PS2 or an original Xbox, GameCube, whatever, it feels great to turn those things on and just kind of be whisked back 10, 15, 20 years to that time and to that era. And remember, man, the Nintendo 64 is so great because I can put in my GoldenEye, I can put in my Banjo-Kazooie, I can put in my Ocarina of Time, my Mario 64, and I'm holding this controller and I'm playing this game. And this is what made this console great back in the day when it came out. Same for all of these other consoles. When we look at the Wii U, which has, you could argue, maybe the most unique controller of almost any controller ever made, if you're going to play some of the best games on that machine, it feels great to put it into your Wii U and hold your gamepad for the games that require and use the gamepad, and play it the way it was intended. I mean, you could joke, play it the way the Nintendo gods intended it to be played, the way Miyamoto intended. You're going to play Pikmin with that gamepad. You're going to play Zombie U with that gamepad. You're going to play The Wonderful 101 with that gamepad, and so many other things. And that's part of the charm of that console, and it's part of what defined it. If you think about it, the Wii U, again, as much as I love it, it doesn't have many positive qualities to its name, right? I mean, there's not a lot of good things about it. They made so many mistakes, and the machine was lacking in so many areas, I do agree, that one of the few things it had going for it was this amazing exclusive library of games. And once we kind of take that away from that console, and we just make them available on the newer machine that everyone likes so much better, it's like, well, no one needs to care about the Wii U anymore because those games aren't unique to that console. They're essentially becoming part of the Switch's library. And in years down the road, we don't want the best games from the Wii U to be remembered as Switch titles and not Wii U titles, because it's just going to help kind of bury the memory of the Wii U overall. And I know for a lot of people, it'll be fun to kind of joke about the fact that, oh, the Wii U sucks anyway, so it should be buried. It should be dead and gone. We should forget about it. It was so bad and so dumb. The Switch is better, and so since the Switch is better, let's just forget the Wii U ever existed. And I get the kind of jokey, memey sort of fun we can have making fun of the Wii U in that respect with those things. Like, yeah, I can laugh at that stuff too, for sure. But if we step away from the jokes and we try to look at it a little bit more sincerely, I think that sucks. I think that's not cool. And I think that the console itself, mistakes and all, deserves better than that. I really do. And I think that Nintendo deserves better than that. If not anything, Satoru Iwata, who was integral in creating that thing and is now passed away, he also deserves better than that for really his last major creation and contribution to gaming and to the company he was running. He deserves better than that for this machine. I mean, this argument has been said by many people, myself as well in the past, and I'm going to say it again here. For people who want to joke and laugh about the Wii U, and it was so bad and so dumb, and Nintendo sucked, and so let's bury it in the past and forget it ever existed, whatever. How many of those people are also playing and buying all of these Wii U ports on the Switch, and even asking for more Wii U ports on the Switch? I mean, if you're loving those games that defined this generation, the Wii U generation, it kind of means that you find a lot of value in the Wii U as a whole. And there was probably a lot of those games that you were enjoying or wanting to enjoy at that time, but were maybe too... okay, well, I don't want to get into insult territory, but basically I will say that you were maybe just unwilling to just go out of your way to buy Nintendo's machine at that time and support it, which deserved support because the games were good. I mean, look at the library of exclusive games and even some of the third-party ports and some of the ones that actually use the gamepad really, really well. Splinter Cell comes to mind, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I mean, there were some really great games using the gamepad so well. You look at the library on the Wii U, and obviously it didn't have the major third-party support it needed. It didn't have the power to compete properly with the other consoles, sure. But man, there's great games on that machine. I have amazing memories of the 4.5 years that console was Nintendo's console. I loved it to death. I wish it got a damned Metroid game. The only thing that drives me crazy about the library of the Wii U is that Nintendo never put a Metroid game on it. And obviously, that's created the weird situation we're in today where we have a new Metroid game, but we're still waiting for it because of all sorts of drama. But, you know, that's the one thing that to me really hurts the Wii U overall is that we just never got an actual Metroid game. But I think it's because Nintendo realized maybe early enough in the Wii U's life that they were never going to be able to turn it around and make it a big hit of a console. And I think they made the decision similar to what they did with the N64, honestly, for those of you guys who don't know. They made a similar decision where they decided, let's hold Metroid off to the next console. I think that they decided to wait on Metroid Prime 4 and say, instead of making a Metroid game on our Wii U, which we know is really not going to become a big hit, and we don't want to waste the release of a new Metroid game, let's wait till our next machine. We think we can make our next machine a bigger hit, and let's design our next Metroid game for that. And that seems to be what's happened. But if you remove the lack of Metroid, I just love the Wii U. I love it for its library. And I think that it's important that the Wii U gets to hold on to that exclusive library. Like I already said here, I'll kind of wrap this up, you know, reminding you of one point I've already made in this video, is that I think it's more important for the best games on the Wii U to be remembered as Wii U titles and titles that in many cases required the gamepad and dual screen gaming than for them to be remembered as Nintendo Switch titles. Bayonetta 2 and Hyrule Warriors and New Super Mario Brothers, and if we end up getting Mario 3D World or Xenoblade Chronicles X, all of these games, you know, there's a chance that in 10 years people look back on them as just Switch games because they were playing them more on their Switch than they did on the Wii U. I mean, Mario Kart 8 is a huge example. That game sold like 3 times as much on the Switch, but it sold incredibly well on the Wii U, 8 million units, and like that, the Wii U was defined by Mario Kart 8, and so it's not really fair to the game and to the console of the Wii U for people to think of it as a Switch game, at least in my opinion. And so that whole sentiment really is kind of my ultimate thesis statement, I should say, for this video and this conversation, and why I do think that in a lot of ways, so many ports to the Switch, even though I can live with them, you guys, I'm not saying that I hate them or that Nintendo shouldn't do them. I don't really want to spend any time getting into the business decision aspect of it all. I just want to say that even though I'm okay with the ports, at the end of the day, I do think that they potentially hurt the Wii U's legacy, and as one of the few remaining fans and defenders of the Wii U, it does make me sad to see. So these were my kind of whacked out, long-winded, crazy, random thoughts about this topic, something that I've been thinking about for a while. You know, and it's an ongoing thing because we've had discussions and rumors and leaks about new Wii U ports coming over to the Switch. And as I even mentioned, you know, only a couple of weeks ago, suddenly we get confirmation that the Wonderful 101 is getting a port to the Nintendo Switch alongside the PlayStation 4 and Steam, thanks to Kickstarter. So obviously that is a unique situation. But regardless of that, it still is another title that was previously exclusive to the Wii U that will be playable on the Switch and other modern devices. And so, are we going to see Mario 3D World? Almost for sure, yes. Are we going to get a Pikmin 3 or a Xenoblade Chronicles X? Very likely. And at that point, we've literally gone through a huge amount of some of the best exclusive and first-party titles released on the Wii U. And suddenly, they're all made available on the newer, hotter, cooler Switch, and people are just forgetting the Wii U more than they already had. And it does make me sad, which was the point of this conversation. So, these are my thoughts and opinions. What do you guys think about this? How do you feel about the Wii U? How do you remember it? Do you remember it fondly? Did you just hate it more than anything? Do you wish it never existed? Do you think that the Wii U ports help or hurt the legacy of the Wii U? I do want to know what you guys have to say about that. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.